I'm so excited to be here with you today at the Karajan Music Conference to talk to you about one of my personal favorite topics, which is creative collaboration with artificial intelligence. So let's get started. So I come from a discipline called computational creativity, and this is a field of artificial intelligence that looks at computers as more than feature-rich tools, but rather as something that can creatively collaborate with us and create by itself. So there are two main lines of thought, two main directions within computational creativity. So one of them is called strong computational creativity, and that's the idea of an AI-based system creating things by itself, so autonomous creativity. There's also the concept that it should do its own evaluation. So it should not only create art or music or something related to dance or storytelling, but also evaluate it by itself, decide how good the artwork is. So in this concept, the computer itself is the artist. But what interests me more, my focus, is on co-creativity, which is when computers work together with humans on creative endeavors. That's what I find really, really exciting, and that's the focus of my research. So let me talk to you now about a concept that I came up with fairly recently, which I'm very, very excited about, because it can help us understand human-machine creativity and the wealth of possibilities that exist in this domain. So the spectrum has human creativity on one end, human creativity without any aid from a computationally creative system. And on the other end of the spectrum, there is autonomous creativity, and that's the idea of AI creating by itself. This exists to fairly limited degrees today, but it will help you understand the spectrum. So what's really interesting is what's in between here. So what's in the middle of the spectrum. And right in the middle, we have even-handed collaboration, where both the AI and the human do about an equal amount of work. This is fairly rare, actually. The best example is found in musical improvisation systems, as some of you might be familiar with. In particular, there's a system by my colleague, Robert Keller from Harvey Mudd, and he created a system called Impro-Visor, where you can actually take turns improvising with the system. So you would improvise for a few bars, and then the system improvises for a few bars. You go back and forth like this, not unlike perhaps improvisation with another human musician. And just by the nature of this form of improvisational trading, it's very even-handed and very balanced. So we can argue that the human and machine do an equal amount of work in this creative task. But then once we go to the edges, we could have systems that are more about, for example, on this end of the spectrum, close to the human, we can have digital enhancement systems. So, for example, well, actually, the very first project I did in computational creativity was on a dance system for professional dancers. And it would create these beautiful visuals behind them as they dance. So the dancer here is doing a lot of the work. They are moving, they're creating, they're really the main attraction. And the visuals just help to enhance the experience. So as you see here, we put vFlow close to this human side of the spectrum. On the other end of the spectrum, and some of my work falls into this end as well, there's a system I worked on with several colleagues called Mindala. And the idea there is to generate visuals and music based on your brain signals. So you actually have a device on your head that reads your brain waves, and based on the information in your brain waves, we create some custom art and music tailored to you. So that's the other extreme, because here the creative work is actually done primarily by the machine, and the person only provides this rather passive information, which is their brain signals. So those are the two extremes. Whereas in the middle, we find real collaboration between humans and machines. But we can go further. What I'm really interested in are flexible collaborative systems. And the idea here is to have systems which know when to step back and know when to give more support. Systems that are not stuck in a single point, that don't force the user into a specific level of collaboration, but rather span a whole range on the collaborative spectrum, meaning that If a user is completely new to the domain, then the system might act as sort of training wheels, making it possible for them to create before they really had a chance to master a lot of the skills. So really taking over most of the creative work when that's what the user needs. But then over time, as the user gets better and better, the user gets practice, and they don't need the system to do so much anymore, the system would be able to start stepping back and doing less and less over time until eventually the human actually becomes a lot less dependent on the system and really takes over the creative process in a much more complete sense. I'm really excited to talk to you about Elysium, which is a project that I've been working on for a very long time. Started off as a research project, and then we actually opened up a company to make it more widely accessible. Elysium is a songwriting system, a collaborative songwriting system that makes songwriting accessible to everybody. So somebody without any kind of music or songwriting experience can come in and write a song in just a few minutes. But then as they use the system, they get better and better and actually become more independent over time, which is exactly what I wanted. That's the kind of experience that I wanted to create, where people can grow with the system and become more independent in this process. The first component of Elysium is the lyrics AI. So the lyrics AI takes topics that you provide or select from a list of options, and then it gives you suggestions, original suggestions that you see at the bottom of the screen there, where you simply can choose original suggestions based on your topics. You can simply keep choosing from Alicia's suggestions, or at any point you can edit Alicia's suggestions, or even type your own lyrics so that Elysium can take into account both what you're writing about and your writing style. So that's really fun. The second part is where Elysium helps you compose top-line melodies. So for example, if your sentence is, "I love this conference," then we could come up with various melodies like, "I love this conference." So it will give you different options like that, and you can pick from them to create your top-line melodies. You can also go in and edit, so you're essentially putting in your own top-line melodies if you can do that, or as you become more proficient in this skill through using the system. And finally, the last part involves putting vocals into your song. So some of our users sing themselves, which is always super fun, but other people prefer not to sing and use Alicia's built-in voices. So Elysium has two voices built into it, a male and a female, and some people prefer to use those. So regardless of your level of musical expertise, you can have a complete song with original lyrics, top-line melodies, and then vocals singing your song. Over 30,000 songs have already been created with Elysium. Recently, there has been a large spike in activity as people are writing songs about what's going on in their lives because of this coronavirus crisis. People are expressing their feelings, processing all this really confusing new reality. Dundee University recently conducted a study giving Elysium to people who have recently experienced the loss of a loved one. So it was a bereavement study. And there are some early results suggesting that Elysium might be helpful for this context. So we know from a long time ago that songwriting, people who can engage in songwriting do get a lot of psychological benefit from that. And it's nice to see that assisted songwriting, which is a lot more accessible, also carries the potential for real psychological benefits. Another thing that I really want to show you today is a collaborative system specifically for lyrics, but for professionals, a system designed for pros. And that's called Lyric Studio, and I'm actually going to go and show you a brief demo of this system. All right, so let's do a demo of Lyric Studio. One way we can get started is to type some topics. A lot of people like to write love songs, so let's write a sad love song. That's always fun. But you can type literally anything you want in here. And now we're going to get some suggestions based on our topics. Oh, so you see there's lots of suggestions here. So we'll read through them. When the fire sank into your heart. You see, it gets really poetic. And now you see here it's saying the next suggestion is going to be based on this line. And what we can do is go in here and change what it's based on. So we could, for example, insist that it continue to be based on just the topics or just the last line. Otherwise it's based on both. So let's regenerate, and now it's taking into account both what we already selected and the topics that we identified earlier. So again, it's now generating completely original suggestions on the fly. I've never seen the same suggestion twice. Original suggestions based on this line of lyrics and the topics from before. So you see lots of different suggestions. Now, in principle, you could also see spend every Sunday in paradise. That's interesting. But let's regenerate, just to show you that you can kind of keep regenerating as much as you like. Okay, that's kind of fun. When the fire sank into your heart, a whole lot of love could get a little bitter, right? So it has this like love, sadness sort of element to it. And another thing you can control is how creative it is and how complex is the vocabulary, right? So let's push creativity all the way here and regenerate as well. Because sometimes you might want simpler suggestions as well. So you have that, the ability to control that. So you can also change the topics in the middle. So let's type maybe darkness here and then regenerate. So let's see what suggestion we get now for our last line, just based on these topics. When the fire sank into your heart, a whole lot of love could get a little bitter. You filled me up with happiness. Hold me, let's add it a little bit just to show you that part. Holding me again in tune. So you see, you can really engage with the system, type in your own stuff, edit, control the settings to create the kind of lyrics that you want. This is a tool for professionals to get out of writer's block, but also to get over an empty page, because this can give you ideas, infinitely many ideas about whatever topics you want to write about, and can really get the creative process moving. Another little thing that I like to point out is that it's a collaborator that's available to you at any time of day, infinitely patient, which is sort of another little advantage of this type of system. We are currently in beta. We just started testing this, and this is super, super exciting for us. So if any of you are interested in joining our beta and having early access to the system, please let me know, and I'd be very happy to add you to our beta and get your feedback on the system. Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure to share this with you today. I hope that you found it interesting. If you'd like to reach out to me either here during the conference or through my email, maya@wave-ai.net. If you're interested to be in our beta for Lyric Studio, I'd love to hear from you. We'd love to get your input on the platform. And you can also check out both Elysium and Lyric Studio through our main website, which is wave-ai.net. Thank you very much.